Happy is the man. Happy is the man who finds a true friend, and far happier is he who finds that true friend in his wife. Good evening and welcome to another exciting episode of the Pastor's Wife Show on Upper Room AGTV. My name is MAVIS and ANKAMAH. We're going for a short commercial break, and when we come back, I will introduce you to my guest.
We'll be right back. Two Guys Multimedia. Call us for all of your media needs at 833-332-4897. Coastland Travel Services. Travel the world with us. Contact us on 347-571-4840 or 347-571-4840. BB's Bridal and Party. Contact us for your hairstyling and makeup for all occasions at 929-219-9715. Welcome back.
Good evening and welcome back again. And I'm so excited about today's show because I have with me here in the studios one of the women of God I admire so much. She's so beautiful, filled with the Spirit of God. She's very strong, disciplined, but most importantly, so loving. Who am I introducing to you tonight? None other than the beautiful Mrs. Kate ANANE AGYEI. Ma Kate, good evening.
Good evening.
Thank you so much for honoring our invitation, and I'm so excited to have you on the show. And I know my viewers are also excited to see you tonight.
Thank you for having me tonight.
So we won't talk much. Somebody will say no long talk. We just want to zoom into the conversation. We know you outside the pulpit.
Okay.
We know you to be the First Lady of Inner Court Sanctuary. And so outside the pulpit, who is Mrs. Kate ANANE AGYEI?
I would say Mrs. Kate ANANE AGYEI is just a servant of God who just loved doing the things of God, and very caring, very helpful. My passion is to help people to excel in life. And I'm a mother of 4. I'm married to Pastor Nick. This is our 21st year of marriage.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And what can I say about myself? Yeah, I'm from, I would say that I'm from Ghana. And then that's all.
Where are you from in Ghana?
I'm from different places, actually. I consider myself as a Piapim because my father is from the Ebrisa side and my mother is a Piapim. So it's like I'm all over.
What's your Piapim? Okay,
Yo.
Okay, so Marke, thank you so much, and we would like to know more about you. You made mention of you're somebody that love God. What does it mean to love God?
I always say to people that there is one thing to be a Christian and there's one thing to be a God-fearing person. If you exhibit the attributes of a God-fearing person, or if you're a God-fearing person, you emulate the things of God. Everybody can go to church and call themselves a Christian. So I always encourage my young ones and my daughters especially, and I tell them that if you are going into marriage, don't marry someone who goes to church, but marry someone who fears the Lord. Because if you fear God, you will follow the rules and regulations or the things of Christ. If you are harming somebody, you think about it. If you are doing evil unto someone, you think about it. If you are stepping on somebody's toe, like, you will be very cautious of the things that you do. But hey, if anybody wants to be a Christian, everybody can call themselves a Christian. But if you are a child of God and you fear God, your actions and the things that you do are very, I would say that are the things that Christ did. So you follow the rules and regulations of being a Christian.
How was life growing up? Somebody will say, well, my family didn't have it all, but we were comfortable. Some will say,
oh,
tell us about your own case.
My case, okay. We were not rich and we weren't poor as well. Yeah, my mother was a trader while I was growing up, and my father was a pharmacist. He's late. My mother is still alive and my father is late. And he was a pharmacist and my mother was a trader. So we were not rich per se, so yeah, that I'm buying for, but we were not poor, we were like in between. So we were stable. I would say that back home we were stable. Yeah.
Well, tell us about your educational background. Did you start school in Ghana or?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. I went to school in Ghana. Actually, I came here when I was in my 20s. So I went to school in Ghana. I went to my secondary school before this HSS and whatever came up. Yeah, I went to my secondary school in Ghana. So right after completion of my secondary school, I went into a training college for like a year. I was,
So you're a trained teacher?
Just for some few. I just got an acceptance and everything, and I was in there for just some few months, and Mommy decided that we should come over. So we did, and I got here. I didn't even hesitate. I just went to BRONX Community College to get my associate degree in human services. And I transferred to Lehman College and I got my social work certification, or let me say my degree from Lehman College. So I've been working here and there, but lately I decided to, it's been so many years now, over 10 years, and I've decided to go back to school.
Okay.
So now I'm pursuing my master's degree at Alfred University.
How do you balance it? Being a mother, being a wife, and
it's very challenging, and I'm working at the moment as I teach kids with special needs.
Okay.
So I'm into District 75. I would say if you live in the New York City area, which is we work with kids with disabilities. So I teach kids with special needs. It's very challenging, but if you have focus and you know what you want to achieve in life, it shouldn't be a problem. It is very tedious. I wouldn't say that is so easy. It's very hectic because combining career, family, even the church itself, it's a big thing.
Sure.
Yeah. So, but I would say that with determination, if you are determined to do something and you have a goal, you work towards that goal. Let's say I'm going to New Jersey from here. I can't just get to George Washington Bridge and I'll just say I'm backing off because that's my destination. No, that's not my destination. My destination is to get to somewhere in New Jersey. So my focus will be, no matter what it is, I'm going to this address. That's where I'm going. So that is how I see life. It is very challenging. People see me and they ask me, how do you do it? A lot of people, even my own sons and daughters in the church, Mommy, how do you do it? But I believe that is the determination and with the help of God. Yeah, because he gives me the strength. It's not easy. He gives me the strength. So, yeah.
With the help of God, we'll be able to do everything.
With
it
him.
Is not by might, but through the help of God.
That's right.
We're able to achieve whatever we want to achieve.
Yes.
You're still on Pastor's Wife Show on Upper Room AGTV, and tonight I have with me here Mrs. Kate ANANE AGYEI. She is the First Lady of Inner Coast Sanctuary Praise, right?
Praise Palace.
Praise Palace. That is the woman I have on the seat tonight. We're going to ask her all the questions we need to ask her. Mommy, for how long have you been married?
I'll say this, we just entered into our 21st
year. 21st year.
Mm-hmm.
So share with us, did you marry your husband, Pastor Nick, as a pastor, or he became a pastor after you got married?
Oh, all right. When we talk about me, or for instance, let me put myself into this category. I'm a person who loves music, and everybody that knows me knows that I sing. And it's a family thing. My sisters, my brother, we are all musicians. We sing. And I love being around musicians back home. I was Assemblies of God member.
Oh.
Getting married to Pastor Nick just took me out of assembly. My whole life I've been from back home here and everywhere that I go. I'm an Assemblies of God person. And what I would say in marriage, when I get married to Pastor Nick, or growing up, I didn't plan to marry a pastor. It's something that I always get closer to pastor's wife, and sometimes I know what they go through. It is, even here is worse. In the US is worse. Back home is not that bad.
So you didn't desire
I didn't
to marry a pastor?
No, but I love musicians, so I say, hey, maybe one day I'll get married to a musician, or kind of, know. But getting married to a pastor wasn't something that I was actually thinking of. So when I met Pastor Nick, he wasn't a pastor.
Okay.
He was a music, a music director. And later on, he became a youth pastor, a youth minister. Let me put it that way. So along the line, I think for about 10, 12 years, I can't even recall, and he was ordained as a pastor. So when I married him, he wasn't a pastor, but he was into music. And actually, it was through music that I met him. Okay. Through concerts, we were going for gospel concerts and shows and all that. So one of the shows is where actually I met him.
You know what? We're going for a quick commercial break. When we come back, Mommy is here to tell us all about the pastor's wife.
We'll be right back. Two Guys Multimedia. Call us for all of your media needs at 833-332-4897. Coastland Travel Services. Travel the world with us. Contact us on 347-5 347-571-4840 or 347-571-4840. BB's Bridal and Party. Contact us for your hairstyling and makeup for all occasions at 929-219-9715. Welcome back.
Welcome back. This is the Pastor's Wife Show on Upperroomag TV, and tonight I have with me here Mrs. Kate ANANE AGYEI. Before we went for break, I asked Sofumami why she didn't want to marry a pastor. And this conversation, she asked her daughter, or she told her daughter, you would marry a pastor, but the girl said no. Mommy, we are back. We want to know we want to know the advantage. You made mention of the advantages and disadvantages in everything. So marrying a pastor, we want to know the advantages and we want to know the disadvantages in marrying a pastor. Why you didn't want to marry a pastor in the first place?
Because I see it as a big responsibility. Marrying a pastor is not easy. That is how I see it, because growing up around pastor's wife in Ghana, and especially when I came over here, it was a bit challenging. And I also believe that if the call of God is not upon your life, you can't go through that channel. So I saw that this is not for me. I would just want to marry, somebody who fears God, and let's move on with life, because that title is not going to take you to heaven. So why would I have to, entangle myself in a situation that I will be like, always tight with things that I could just get over with, So it was a bit challenging. So I said to myself that if it's God's grace that I should marry a pastor, fine, but it's not my will or my choice to say, oh, and then my dad sorry to me, no. It wasn't something that I thought about it. It wasn't something that I thought about.
Growing up, were you born into a Christian family?
Yes.
Oh, because so you've been a Christian,
Yes. My father trained us, in Presbyterian. While we were growing up, we've gone to Presby all our lives until we started growing up, and then secondary school, we joined the SUs and all that. We started speaking in tongues. I went to Victory Bible Church for a little bit, and then my sister and myself, we went to Assemblies of God.
How did that shape your life?
It has really shaped my life tremendously, I would say. Yeah, because that is where I actually grew. Yeah, where I actually grew. I began to know more about spiritual things, like this, to speak in tongues. I think it was in Assemblies of God when I started speaking in tongues, but I grew up in secondary school, and I started speaking in tongues, but I grew more spiritually when I joined Assemblies of God.
Aside loving your husband, what really excites you for being a pastor's wife?
Okay, aside marrying my husband, okay, it depends on what brings the excitement. Because other pastor's wife, I will be sitting here and say I have the most peaceful marriage. Somebody will also come and sit in the same chair, and it'll be like, I've regretted marrying to my husband. So it depends on you, the individual. You understand? It depends on you, the individual. There are so many excitement. If you have a husband who is excited or is always bringing some excitement at home, definitely the wife will be excited. But if you have a husband that comes home and is always frowned and is always into other things beside the home, it brings frustration. So I will say that it excites me to be a pastor's wife based on the man that I'm married, because he's always bring the excitement home. He doesn't just say that, I have to focus on the folks and the church members and all that. He always makes sure that his home is well, equipped and all that before he focuses on other things. So that brings me that joy that at least I'm safe and secured in that area. And other things that also bring the excitement is having so many children, not just your biological children. We have so many children, and I'm glad that I have so many children that calls me mommy. And that brings me excitement. Some of them are maybe good. Some of them will be a pain in your neck and all that. But at least you have one or two people that will actually, love you to some extent. If like I have some daughters in my life that sometimes I sit down and I thank God for those daughters that I have. Sometimes in my dark moments and I'm down, they will just call randomly just to check on me, mommy. So that brings some kind of excitement, to have the opportunity to call other people. Some of them are even older than me, but they call me mommy. So it brings some joy and it gives me some gladness that, oh, I'm excited. I have a lot of children, So those are some of the things that bring the excitement.
How has your husband's ministry impacted your life personally?
Okay. I always say that if you are a king, let's bring it to our local, system. If you're a king or a queen, when you are being sworn in, like when you are doing the swearing in, they tell you certain things that you have to do and certain things that you don't have to do. A king cannot dance unless that is the right time for him to dance. A king cannot eat in public. A king cannot fight. Certain things, when you do that, your kingship will be taken away from you. I always say to pastor's wife that I have opportunity to talk to, especially the young ones that are coming up, that my husband's ministry have shaped me in a way that I cannot misbehave outside. Because in our society, they will tag you, oh, soft mommy cry now, you say, soft mommy cry now, you say. So you have to discipline yourself. So his ministry has helped me discipline myself. Certain things that a church member will do and go scot-free, soft mommy cannot do it. You have to be disciplined because of the title. Even though the title is not you, because I'm not a pastor, I'm a pastor's wife. Even though it's my husband who carries the title, Obi Wabeka say, me could do anything. No. You are under the title, that you are operating under your husband's title, or the ministry that your husband has, you are operating under that ministry. So you have to live a standard life that will pertain to that ministry that your husband. So my husband's ministry has really calmed me down. Probably I might be a very hyper person, but I realized that I have to be calm because of his ministry. Maybe I didn't love people before, but I have to start loving people because we need love to bring people into the ministry. I didn't care for people before, but now I have to start caring for people. I don't have to do things outside that will be stigmatized or will bring some kind of, name calling on my husband. So I have to discipline myself outside of him. So it has really shaped me and it has really made me who I am today.
So being a pastor's wife, there's a certain kind of way you should carry yourself.
Exactly.
You can't behave like anybody.
Exactly.
You can't do things like the way I would do or any church member would do.
Exactly. Because you have to preach, you have to practice what you preach.
Exactly.
You understand? You have to practice what you preach. One time I was organizing a party for one of the family members, and I called a friend to help. And so, mommy, I hope you are bringing wine and some alcohol because why yes I will yesika. I looked at her. You understand? Because if I'm preaching, I'm not saying it's up to you. If alcohol is good for you, and if whatever the Bible tells you about alcohol, that is what you have to follow. But I am teaching you the way. And if I'm teaching you the way and I'm doing opposite what I'm teaching, what kind of a mother am I? You understand what I'm saying? So certain things people can do, but you as the pastor's wife, yeah, you have the right to do them. But what kind of message are you, carrying across? And how are people going to look up onto you? If you want people to look up onto you, you have to live a life that will transform their life, not a life that will make their life worse. So that is one thing that I believe.
Somebody is watching us who is married to a pastor. Maybe is a young pastor's wife or been married for just maybe 2 years, a year.
Mm-hmm.
When at your early stages in marriage, did you feel like jealousy or threatened when you see your husband talking to the opposite sex, the female, did you at the early stage of your marriage?
Not really. Maybe with that question, let me say that if I have to advise maybe somebody who's young coming up in general, Jealousy at the beginning, I might say maybe a little bit. But if you ask me today about jealousy, no.
Exactly. Why?
Because I've grown, past that stage. Yeah, probably I might be jealous, but also it depends on, I always say, the type of man that you are married to. I do counsel couples, and I always tell them that in every marriage, if you let trust and transparency be the centerpiece of the marriage, you could go very far. You understand my point? So maybe initially I was young because I got married in my middle 20s. And one thing that I always say to people that our husband goes to Bible school. There are so many Bible schools for our husbands. And even our women, if you want to, embark in that journey, you want to be a pastor, they have theological schools that they go to acquire knowledge and stuff like that. But I've never heard about pastor's wife school. I don't know if you've heard about that.
Oh.
They've opened an institution and said this is for pastor's wife. No. So they allow us to make our own mistakes, and then we grow out of that mistakes. So if you are not fortunate to have a mentor who has gone through that stages of making mistakes and use that mistakes to teach you or to guide you, you will definitely make mistakes. And even now you make more mistakes than what they did. Because of now social medias and those things, you make more mistakes. So if you're a young pastor's wife and you are coming up, it's always good to have a mentor. It's always good to have somebody who will direct you, who will use their past experience to help you. I wouldn't say that, yes, I wasn't jealous. I was jealous maybe one or, but later on I realized that this is the man that I'm married to, and the man is not contributing anything negatively into church members. So why would I have to? And if you start exhibiting that jealousy, behavior, it will affect you. Because he's working with female, especially the female are more in the churches than men now. Some churches when you go, and the women, we make the church and we break the church. You understand? So if your husband is going around the opposite sex, all that you could do is to pray for him. Pray. That is the only thing you can do, because he's a man, and he was a man before he became a man of God. So all that you could do is to have some effective communication. If you see some signs that, maybe my husband is going over the bar, or he's doing something that is so, just have, I always say there are forms of communication. If you are yelling, you are not communicating, you are making noise. If you are screaming, you are not communicating. But if you could sit and have an effective communication, and if your husband is a loving man, why not? So jealousy should be out of that picture, because whether you like it or not, they are going to deal with the women in the church. They, and even you, the pastor's wife, the men will also come and, sometimes have one. So why would you have to be jealous? If you see a sign that there's something something is not going on right, all that you can do is to pray to God. Pray for your husband. Pray and pray and pray.
Pray, 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 and pray. That's all you have to do for your husband. We're going for a quick commercial break. When we come back, we will continue. This is the Pastor's Wife Show on Upper Room AG TV.
We'll be right back. Two Guys Multimedia. Call us for all of your media needs at 833-332-4897. Coastland Travel Services. Travel the world with us. Contact us on 347-571-4840 or 347-571-4840. BB's Bridal and Party. Contact us for your hairstyling and makeup for all occasions at 929-219-9715. Welcome back.
Welcome back from the break. We're still on Upper Room AG TV, and this is the Pastor's Wife Show. And we're still talking to the ever beautiful Mrs. Kate ANANE AGYEI. Mommy, let me ask this question. How do you, because there's this notion that pastors don't have time for their families. How do you draw your own husband's attention to the family life without hindering his public ministry or the ministry of others?
Okay. I would say that it is true. Yeah, because they've devoted their time, their life, everything into the things of God. And they have to be there for their members. So most of their time they spend it outside more than the home. That is one thing that if you are getting yourself into, being married to a pastor, you have to understand. You understand? Because there will be times that you'll be lonely. There will be times that the time you need your husband the most, your husband will not be there. I remember one time I needed pastor so much. A church member has to be rushed to the hospital to have a baby. And the husband was in Ghana. So daddy has to go. And I will have to be home, taking care of the kids. So daddy has to be there. But at that moment, maybe I need my husband. But he's in the hospital helping somebody's wife to deliver a baby. They've become organizers, doctors. All the professions is like they are in there. So the loneliness is there. But if you understand your husband, and that you have to have the understanding that is the type of work that God has called them into. So if you do understand that, that is their calling, it shouldn't be a problem. You understand? Yeah, initially it was a problem because I wasn't getting the attention that I'm supposed to get as the pastor's wife, and I will be nagging and I'll be talking about it. But I realized that is their calling.
Yeah.
So I have to support it. It gets to a point, it gets frustrated a little bit. You'll be lonely and all that. But I believe that I have to, find things that will make me happy and then forget about the loneliness and stuff like that. Yeah.
I know sometimes pastors do go through, lots of challenges in the hands of church members everywhere, the attacks. As a woman of God and as a pastor's wife, what do you do to support your husband in times like that?
That is wonderful, and I'm very happy. My number one advice, if I see you a pastor's wife, all that I tell you is to be prayerful. Because without the prayers, you can't do anything. Sometimes the Bible says that this situation, we can overcome them by prayers. Another condition too, we can overcome them with prayers and what? Fasting. So if you're a pastor's wife and you don't pray, if you're a pastor's wife and you don't fast, you are rather giving rooms to the devil to, enjoy the most. Because the thing is, pastor is dealing with other people's burdens. They are things that are bothering them. I don't even know how to put it. They are delivering people.
Yeah.
And the devil don't want that. So any person that you deliver, remember, the attacks will come to you, the pastor. So when they come and the pastor is strong, they go to the wife. And if the wife is not that strong, then so many pastors go through challenges where the problem starts from their wives. Sometimes you can't blame their wives because they avail themselves for the enemy to take over, and then the problem starts. The pastors go through so much. So as a wife, you have to be very, very strong when it comes to spiritual matters so that you can be supportive to your husband. So if you don't pray, you don't fast, and you just want to do it carnally, you are not, the outward is going to be bad. That is where from the wife, if the wife is stronger too, it goes to the children. So you have to also learn how to teach your children, even not to fast, but then they should learn how to do it, how to be prayerful. So my only advice that I will give to the women especially, sometimes the men will be so overwhelmed, they can't even get the time to fast and pray because of the challenges, as you are saying. Church members will rise up against them, some will disappoint them, the rejection will come, it's so much that they go through. Sometimes I look at Pastor Nick and I said, okay, this is your calling and this is your cross. Because Christ said, if anyone wants to follow me, pick up your cross and follow me. So this is your cross. So, I will encourage him, and at the same time, I will do the battling in secret. Exactly. Because sometimes you see him very down. And women, we are very emotional. So I'm not going to generalize it, but per se, I'm very, very emotional person. Just play a worship song, I'll cry. So things like that, I will have the boldness and I'll ask God for the courage, and I will encourage him But in my chambers, I will do the crying and the battle. I will do it very, very intensively. So I always advise pastor's wife, please, if you don't know how to do it, learn to be prayerful. That's the only key. Learn how to pray and fast. If a whole year, pastor's wife, you haven't prayed, you do pray every day, little prayers. But if I'm talking about prayers, spend some time with the Lord. Hours. If you can do 30 minutes, if you can do an hour, do 30 minutes a day at least. But if you can go beyond an hour, it's the best. Don't wait till the church will declare a fasting or a fast before you embark. No. Set a time for yourself. This is not about the church. It's about you doing it for the church. It's not what the church is saying that, and then now we are doing 21 days fasting, then you join. No. Have days that you fast for the church, for your home, and especially for your husband.
Have time, have day to set aside, pray for you, the church, and also for your husband.
Exactly.
Let me ask you, Mommy, there's this notion again that pastors' children are bad. Do you have a way of bringing up your children? Do you have a way of training your children so they don't become what society, have turned them, to be?
Okay. This statement is something that bothers me a lot. Why is it so? Because the pastor's focus are mainly on the church members. The pastor will do everything for a church member, but when they get home, they are tired, so they don't have time for their children. That is why they were saying that pastors' children go wayward and stuff like that. I remember one time I was very sick, and I told Pastor Nick, I'm not feeling well. He just laid his hands on me. Oh God, 2 minutes he was done, a minute or two. But if a church member should call on the phone, cabros, satay, hours, then he will be praying. He will spend time. Even if it gets worse and he has to move the car, he will get up in the middle of the night and go. So they will do all these things. By the time they get home, they are so exhausted. They don't have time for the home. That is when their children goes astray and all those things that people are talking about. But when it comes to me, I don't accept that, because I believe that when you want to teach something outside, it has to start from your home. If you are telling other people's children to be better, why don't you make your children, get better before you can tell other people? And the Bible says that somebody goes and plants, Apollo waters, but for it to germinate is the Holy Spirit. It's God that brings the germination. I will be sitting here and say, oh, I want my children to be this, I want my children to be that. But if it's not the will of God, it's not going to come into fulfillment. You understand? So I personally believe that the Bible says that we should train the child the way they should go. When they grow, they won't depart from it. I tell my church members that it is one thing to send your child to church, and it's one thing to take your child to church. You can send a child to church with anybody. When they go, it's their own prerogative to say that, okay, I'm going to take full responsibility over your child. But as a mother, when you take your child to the church, you have full control over your child. Don't go here, sit here. You can control that child. So we have to train our children. Me training my children is not my doing. It's God. So I always sit them down, and I always talk to them about Christ. I always tell them, and I involve them in the things of God. I involve them, because when you involve them into the things of God, it also enables them to know the truth. Because if the child doesn't have anything to do in the house of God and they are going, it's boring. They rather want to, especially with this, in the society that we live in now, they rather want to watch other things. So I personally have teenagers, and I will say that today my daughter is telling Mommy, I'm growing, I'm 20. So I don't know if she's an adult or whatever. I still see her as a baby. Yeah. So I always tell them, and I pray to God, and I always teach them the right path. To me, it might be a right path, but I always let the will of God to be done in their lives. And for prayers and fasting, I don't stop. I have a special day for them. You have to set a day. All I have one day is just for my children. It's just for my children. It's just for my children. So those are the little things that I do. You engage them in the things of God. You advise them. When you see a mistake outside, bring it to the home. Sit them down. Advise them. Every stage and every advice that you can give them. So give it to them. And also, whilst we are doing that, then you do the battling in your chambers. So that's my secret. I have a special day just for my children. Fast and pray for them.
Good. So with your busy schedule and that of your husband, do you have a special family time? And during this time, what are some of the activities you do?
We don't really, every moment that we have, we just enjoy it. We don't really have a special time. So today is Saturday, so we're just going to do this, we're just going to do that. And we just leave that for the kids. Today they'll say, oh, we want to have a little party in the house. What do you need? Whatever they need, we just want. And I would say that, thank God, they are not children that loves to go out too much. Yeah, they are very indoor. They've adopted this strategy that they are more happier when they are in the house. So anything that they want to do in the house that make them happy, I'll do that, because as you said, I'm a very busy person, and Pastor is always also is another busy person. So we thank God that they do the things in the house whilst we are there, so that we can supervise. So we have fun, but it's like it's always in the house. Now
supervision is very, very important point. You just brought that up. How do we supervise our children, especially in this country? Parents are busy, mothers are busy, fathers are busy. So we leave the children to do whatever they like.
Okay.
How can we supervise them?
Out of your busy schedule, when you stop doing something, you have time to do something. I always say that. If you stop doing something, you have the time to do another thing that is more maybe, productive. So you don't restrict the children. When you put too much restrictions on the kids, there are certain things they will hide from you. I treat my kids as my friends. Sometimes we dance together, we do silly things together. They have so many videos on their phones that they'll be making fun of me. And when you develop that kind of bondness, that kind of relationship with your kids, it's hard for them to be hiding things from you. Even though all my children in the house, they have password on their phones and all that. But if I tell you to open your phone, because of the relationship that I have with you, they open it and I go in there. And academically, when we've developed let me say our emails are linked to their emails, so everything academically we see them. So if you are getting Fs and you are telling them, Mommy, I'm getting Bs, you are lying.
Okay.
You understand? You understand my point?
Yeah.
Like my older daughter, I always say her bank account is linked to my bank account. So anytime she goes zero, they will. So then I'll call her, listen, come on, what are we doing? So these are some of the things, but rather, first of all, build a relationship with them, because some parents, if you don't have a relationship with the kids and their respect is not there, no matter what you do, you're not going to win them. So we have that kind of relationship. It gets to a point that they treat them like, hey, boys, they fight, they do all kinds of, funny things that one of them call the father, hey, what's up, son? Because he believes that Pastor named him after his father.
Oh, okay.
So it's like, hey, what's up, son? So just build some relationship with your children. And I think it will be okay.
It will be okay.
Yeah, but
Mommy, because of our time, let me ask you these few questions, and then we'll bring to the end of today's edition of Pastor's Wife Show. What kind of support as a pastor's wife do you need from church members? How would you want church members to support you to be able to do your work effectively and efficiently as a pastor's wife? Okay.
This journey, one person cannot handle everything. So I always tell people, if God brings your way very good people that will support you, it makes the load a bit lighter. So I will just say that church members should have the zeal and the kind of heart to support the pastor and their wives. And one thing that they should know, that whatever that they are doing is not unto the pastor, because the pastor is a human being. He can disappoint you. He can even say something to you that they be like, you understand my point? So have that conscience and that mentality that I am doing this unto God. If one person is doing the job, you get to a point, it becomes so tedious and you get tired and you wouldn't want to do it anymore. But if Mommy is cooking banku and okra stew, and if Sister Mavis is cutting the okra, and maybe Sister Mama Comfort is washing the meat, and this person, it makes it lighter. But if you leave everything for Mommy to do, then I'm quite right. They said, oh, Mommy, she has found her face, she's not lovely, because the workload is too much for her. So it gets to a point they get tired. So if everybody is chipping in, as the Bible says that the hand is helping the neck is helping. It's a body part. If everybody's playing their roles, it makes it what? More efficient and more easier than one person doing everything. So I would like advise church members, and I will encourage them that if you have any potential, if you have any gift, don't hide it. Just help, come out. If you know how to sing, if you know how to clean the house of God, if you know, I'm so proud of my workers in the house, especially my media guy. He's always there. This corona, I was telling Pastor one time that God does things that we don't understand because he was out of the country for some time or out of the state for some time. But at the moment that his help or the gift that God has given him was needed, God brought him. There. Because if he wasn't around this pandemic time, how will the church go on a social media? You understand? This virtual things how would it go? So I was talking to Pastor, we're thinking about our son, and I was like, God does things that we do not understand. He brought him at the right time. So if God has brought a person like this into your life, you have to appreciate them. Don't look down on them because they're doing things for God and they are not being paid. Appreciate them. The more appreciation you give them, the more it enables them to do more. And it encourages other people, oh, brother, this is doing this, so I have to help. So when everybody's helping in the church, it makes the work, easier.
How would you describe a successful pastor?
Okay, a successful pastor, I would say a successful pastor is a pastor that is actually winning souls for Christ. Because it can be materialistic, but I don't look at it in that way. If we are truly winning souls for Christ, you are succeeding in the calling of God, because that is what we are going to present, not the things around us. So a very good, successful pastor is who winning soul is his passion.
Is Pastor Nick a successful pastor?
I will say yes.
I will say yes. Thank you so much, Auntie Kate, for honoring our invitation. Thank you so much. That's the end of today's edition of Pastor's Wife Show. And tonight, my guest was Mrs. Kate ANANE AGYEI, First Lady of our Inner Court Sanctuary Praise Palace. Thank you so much for watching. We'd like to say thank you to our media crew, our director for tonight, Brother Ernest, Pastor Daniel Opokumafo, and the executive producers for this program is Pastor and Mrs. Asante Menu. They speak to our guests behind the scenes. Thank you so much, Daddy and Mommy. And thank you so much, you, our viewers, for watching. We wouldn't be here without you. My name is MAVIS ANKAMAH. Next week, God willing, will come your way. Stay blessed. Bye for now.
Wow.